stand, rather than sit.
Hey, welcome
Uh,
everyone. We are live and good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time zone you're from. Welcome to Conversations with Karuna, and we're back again another Thursday with another conversation with an amazing, lively person. One of my when I started talking to David is Nair is the person who will be on the show today. He is a founder of IXL Incorporated, a self development company, supports training and coaching. He's also an author and also a coach himself. So, when I started interacting with David, all of these conversations were so much of fun, and he would have so many amazing stories to tell me that I was so inspired by the interesting experiences that he had to talk about. So here we have David, and we will be talking to him about his life journey and how can someone wire yourself for success.
Hi guys, a very very good evening, or I should say from Australia down under. It's good night. It's great to come online. Thank you so much for having me, Karuna. One of the key things I find is the pleasure. I love to be on stage, and I love to talk to people. Being a storyteller, being a yarn developer, as they say in Australia, one of the key things I look at is where are people going in life. And the reason why I hone in on that so early in the piece is 95% of the population, unfortunately or fortunately, drift through life because the purpose is not defined. I'll be talking about that shortly, a little bit downstream. But what got me into this industry, it's vital for you to know, and where I am in respect to my journey. That's what you want. I am not the person I am today. At the age of 14, I got kicked out of home. And I mean, literally kicked out of home. Now, most will be wondering, oh my God, what happened to this guy? Hey, my parents did it out of the goodness of their heart. They sent me to a place called Brisbane, Australia to study, primarily because I was so shy, I could not say boo to anybody outside of my mom and dad and my brother and sister. That's how shy I was. There's a saying in South India, because I live in South India quite a bit whenever I come to India and then travel from there to the other locations. There's a saying in South India, I used to hang behind my mother's pavada, meaning petticoat. That's how shy I was, guys. Now, if a shy guy like that can be transformed using some of the tools and techniques of rewiring yourself, I'll come and explain success later. If a guy like that can rewire himself to be in a position where about 6 years ago, I addressed an open air stadium of 40,000 people.
Wow, that's amazing.
What made the transformation? It wasn't any scientific channeled methodology. All it was this thing inside of me. I had to get it right. And I had a lot of
Amazing.
people, yeah, a lot of people who got me to do that. I had 14 coaches on my journey to where I am today. Guys, 14. Let me count it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14.
Wow.
14 of them. That's how stupid I was. But I tell you what, stupid people get paid very well.
So true. So David, we're all excited to listen to all your concepts of how we can wire ourselves to success with amazing stuff that you have to talk to us, stories that you have to tell us. So let's start with
Go
your
for it.
life. Let's start with your life journey. Tell us more about that.
Very simple. At 14 and a half in Brisbane, Australia, this is what happened. I didn't transform because I moved from one location to another. What actually happened was I was still sitting in the university, in the college, private college, sucking my thumb and hoping for transformation to take place. Until one day, one of the teachers came up to me, hit me on the back, and said to me, "Hey, doing what you're doing is not going to get you anywhere in life." I said, "What do you mean?" 14 and a half, 15. And he said, "I want you to go and meet people. Now, I'm going to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, this simple question. How many of you were taught to go and meet people? Huh? Nobody. I wasn't until I asked the question, how? See, most of us don't know what questions to ask. That's how basic it is. So when this guy taught me how to meet people, I went and met some of the families that used to come on the weekends to take the children. I befriended one of those. He became my adopted father. He's my coach and my first coach. I refer to as Uncle John. Uncle John, I'm going to accelerate this very fast for time factor. Uncle John taught me at the age of 14 and a half, within a year, to start my own business, to start investing. Every time when I went home to his place every weekend, he would be talking at the dining room table about businesses, about what he did in his work. And he was sharing this with his family. I never had that. Not that my parents were depriving me of anything. That was not the culture in our home. But the culture in this particular home was to share. And so he was sharing business practices. So at the age of 15, I had in my head, I need to invest. What happens when you associate with certain types of people? That's what happens. You get sponged into it. So at the age of 15 and I think 2 months or 3 months, I plucked up enough courage. By now I could talk to people. And I went to the bank managers in one of the banks and knocked on the door. And the guy comes out to me and said, how can I help you, son? He calls me son, okay, this bank manager. And I said, I want to talk to the bank manager. I'm 15 years and 3 months. And he said, come on in. He takes me into the sits me down. As he leaves me, he asks me, can I get you a glass of milk? You see how naive I am, okay? I was so frightened to even say yes because I didn't have any money. I thought I had to pay for the milk. The guy was offering me a glass of milk and I was so naive. Guys, this is where I'm bringing in my second concept of education that most of us miss out on, called exposure. Our mainstream education only gives us X amount of information. Our second mainstream of information, calls exposure, today it's out there in the world, gives us a lot more. Wait till I come downstream to give you the third. Now, what happened to me was, he said to me very simply, how can I help you, son? And I said, I want to borrow some money. And he looked at me and he said, oh, really? That's good. What do you want the money for? And I told him, at 15 years and 2 months, I want to buy a house. He leaned back and he said, wow, that's good. That's good. And he said, do you have an account with us? I said, no. Next question. Do you have a job? I said, no. Next question. Do you have a deposit? I said, no. Next question. How do you expect to borrow money from us? And he said, I just thought the bank will lend money. He said, yes, we'll lend money. And his next question to me is, how do you expect to pay it back? And my response stunned him. Do I have to pay it back? Do you understand what I'm saying? This is true story, guys. How many of you went through that? You see, when that happened to me, I did not know where to go. He said, yes, you have to pay it back, son. It is not free. So he said, go back home, tell your mom and dad what you're trying to do, and get them to advise you what needs to be done. So I went back home, told Uncle John. He said, wait, I'm going to teach you. You want to buy a house? I said, yes. I'm going to teach you how to buy a house. I'm going to teach you how to be a property investor. Guys, I started my first business by the age of 18 and a half. I bought my first home. By the age of 20, I sold that home and made $250,000 out of that. By the age of 24, I bought my second property, 4 properties, 6 properties, 8 properties. By the age of 33, I was able to retire from financially being independent. That's not to boast. That's what happened. Now, why? Because this guy had the guts. G-U-T-S. That's how I spell guts. The genuine urge to succeed. Guts. You need to have that in your belly. Sitting where you're sitting, whoever it is, I'm very strong and forthright as a coach. Because if you're mollycoddling people, they don't move. You need to put a bomb under them. So my words are basically linguistically trained by John Grinder. the founder of NLP. So I use power pack words for people to click in. So, ladies and gentlemen, sitting where you're sitting and hope to change is not going to happen. Get out of your butt and start doing something. 2021 is going to be the year for you. If you want to do something, get up and do it. So that in a nutshell was the story. By the time I was 33, 34, I decided, what will I do? What will I do? In the meantime, I went ahead and got a degree, which all Indian families want us to do. So I got my certified practicing accountant. I became a chartered practicing accountant, they call it, which is quite different to a chartered accountant because we actually practice in the commercial area rather than a professional area, meaning as a corporate accountant, as opposed to a CA who has clients. He goes out and meets clients. Now, as a CPA, what ended up happening was I was lucky enough. This is where most people say you have to have luck to come up in life. Yes. And the term I use, luck, is different. I spell luck. I don't know if this is how you spell luck. Luck. Labor under correct knowledge. So my luck came to me this way. It came to me by having a right hand and a left hand coach who I totally believe in. The right hand coach showed me financial independence. The left hand coach was the guide who showed me how to come up in a career. And by the time I was 26, I was the youngest vice president for the third largest oil and gas company in Brisbane, Australia, with property starting all the way from Shanghai, China, down to Tasmania. Now, that didn't happen because I sat on my bum. That happened because I decided to make a decision. This is the word I want you to cement yourself on. A decision. Ladies and gentlemen, to me, a decision is a Latin word. It means decry, to cut and move on. So the decision I had to make at the age of 14 and a half to leave my parents, at the age of 18 to buy my first property, at the age of 33 to make decisions what I'm going to do with my finances, at the age of 24, a decision whether I'll take on the vice president's role and move up my career or leave it. I decided to stay on for another 10 years. So by the time I was there till 35. And I went up to my dad at 35 and said, hey, Dad, I'm going to go back to India. And he said, what? We left India in the 40s. He left India, not me, okay? He left India in the 40s. And he said, why are you coming back to India? And I said, very simple. I want to give something back. And that leads me to my mission, my purpose in life. I wanted to give back. Then he said, why? Give them some money. And I said, if give them money, it's not going to change. Why? What is not going to change? Because it is giving charity. I don't want that. I want to be working in the trenches with the people. So, ladies and gentlemen, from 1998 up to this pandemic in March of the 2020, I've been making 6 to 8 trips a year into India, not giving charity, but working in the trenches, helping people transform so they can come up in life. That transformation was what I was targeting. So my purpose started way back when I was 33, 34. And it goes as follows. My purpose in life is to create a mindset shift, a heart set shift, and a soul set shift in 1 million people. Thereby creating a better lifestyle for them and their next generation, leaving behind a legacy. So that purpose was what drove me to leave Australia constantly, despite having problems in India with water, power, you know it. You can just name it. I'm not trying to put India down, but there are a whole string of issues. When you have a lifestyle here, living in the farm and having all the luxuries that you want, I decided to quit it for 6 to 8 months of the year and work in India. And in that 22 years, my goal was not achieved. I wanted to do 1 million people. I only did 250,000 people. In that time, I had the privilege to supportedly work with 250,000 people who span the world today. In fact, this morning, I was sitting out in my front veranda and a call comes in from Atlanta. And this person's name is Muthu. I coached Muthu. He's a CEO. He's Jonathan Bush, George Bush's cousin's CEO for a company. I coached him way back in 2004. Now watch this, guys. He is a startup coach, a very powerful man. He rings me up and we talked for a while. We chatted about different things. So the relationship and the connect is still there. And that's what coaching is all about. And I have the privilege of actually coaching CEOs, vice presidents, senior managers, business executives, sole proprietors, entrepreneurs over the last 22 years. And one thing happened to me in July of 2018 when I made the decision I wanted to go public with this, meaning I wanted to talk on stages, I wanted to talk on platforms. I went and found another coach who taught me these rudiments of how to talk on stage professionally, how to write books. By the way, I've launched my first book on 1st of January 2021. It's just been launched, and the book is titled I Excel Wired for Success. So
Awesome.
all of this together is my journey. I have talked enough. Your turn, lady. Take it over.
Wow, wow. Such an inspiring journey, and I must say, such an amazing story to listen to. I knew a few pieces of it, and I think today there are more things I got to know more about you. So
Thank
I
you.
really loved it, and I'm sure the audience is also loving it. The messages are pouring in. Murali is writing, he's saying hello. Umakant is saying he finds it really great. Bindu is just all over, talking about she loved the concept of guts. Um,
Good.
love the concept of luck as well. And I think Abhishek is also loving it. Umakant says, right time decisions leads achieving goals. Yes, you're right. And Akshay is also finding it amazing. So we look forward to many more comments, more questions, guys, and do keep pouring in your love
Yep.
and your comments, and we would love to read them out for you in the live session. So that's the power of doing a live session as well. You could also look at
Exactly.
it later, and we'll be happy to add more value in whatever way we can. So
Right.
coming back to you, David. I I was amazed to know that 14 coaches. I mean, you coach people and you have had 14 coaches who've shaped up your life. So what it tells us is that there is a huge role that a coach plays in anybody's life.
Yes. Yes.
So the impact the coach creates is amazing.
You see, most people don't understand the concept of coaching. They relate it back to teaching and training. It is not. A coach does not give you solutions, and I don't give my people solutions. In fact, I push them hard that they actually know they need to be stretched to such an extent. So, as an example, in India, Sachin Tendulkar does not go up to his coach when he's feeling a little bit, up to his coach and say, I don't feel like doing the jogging today. You know what his
Mm,
coach will do? He'll turn around and say, go and do 300 of them.
yeah.
Okay. Now, why is that imperative for you to put in your head? Ladies and gentlemen, the reason is you don't want somebody to give you and spoon feed you. You want to be independent. So a good coach, there are methodologies in which you'll go and search for coaches. I'm not going to cover that today. A good coach will actually be able to guide you, put questions out there, challenges out there to make you walk through it. And when you fall, he's there to pick you up. I'll give you one illustration of that, a true story that happened to me. And that's how I picked up this concept of coaching. As I said, when I got into Korea, one of my senior managers, who was my guide, HR person, they're trying to groom me as an all-rounder. So whenever there were opportunities, they would put me into accounting roles, they'll put me into HR roles, they'd put me into, in those days, it wasn't IT, it was called DP, data processing. And I was moving around. By the way, I'm not very old. I'm only 92 years old, right? Now, so what happened was in one of these trips in discussions, they said, we need to close down one of our operations down south in Australia. And they said okay, because it's not doing well. It's a pain in the butt, so to speak. So why don't we close it, bring it up here, relocate the staff into Brisbane, and we can then go on. And Next minute, everybody's eyes was pointed at me, and I looked at them and I said, Jerry, what are you doing? And he says, well, you're the most likely person. You're the most middle managed guy that can fly to Sydney and handle those guys, then come back. And I looked at him and I said, you know something? I'm only 22 years old. I'm only 22, and you want me to sack people who are 60? That's my question to him, because that's the whole idea. When you relocate, it means you retrench people. So he turned around and said to me, I was sitting in a boardroom with about 8 or 9 people, and he turned around and he stood up and he put his hands in his thumb, in his mouth, and he walked around the table and he said, listen to me, David. He said, I want to learn to swim. He kept walking. I want to learn to swim. I want to learn to swim. And he made this twice, 3 times. The fourth round, he came up to me and he stood behind me and he said, now, will I ever swim, David, if I went round and round the table saying, I want to learn to swim? And I said, no. So what he did was he just shoved me, and my whole body went across the table on the conference room. And he said, now, if I pushed you into the swimming pool, you will drown, and I will be there to pull you up. That's the power of a coach.
Amazing.
That's my first coaching lesson, ladies and gentlemen.
I love the way you put across stories that create so much of impact.
Thank you. Thank you.
So guys, you should know this, that David is an amazing storyteller and he uses this method to actually create that impactful thought that you need to know through these messages that he has.
And I tell you, Karuna, the reason why I do that is, as I said, John Grinder, one of my true mentors, there 14 of them did guide me a lot. John and his partner, Carmelson Bostic, shared this concept of understanding your left brain and your right brain.
Yeah.
Okay? Now, and then understanding the conscious and the unconscious states and the superconscious states. Now, I never knew any of that. I now understand it very well. I understand what needs to be done, how to synchronize that, and why I use the term wired for success, because we need to learn to unwire our unconscious.
Yeah.
And I'm driving at a point here, primarily for people to understand you can either work hard or you can work smart. Most of you have heard the saying. But the work smart is not work smart mentally. It's work smart utilizing the patterns and tools that taps into your unconscious. If you know the power of your unconscious, it's equivalent to the size of an Atlantic Ocean of water cooling a computer. Now, if you went to generation 1 computer, we are in the 5th or 6th or 10th generation computers currently. Okay. If you went to generation 1 computer, they used to have a huge room to cool the computer system. That's how much of heat the computer generated. Okay. Now, there's a book written, The Power of the Subconscious Mind, by Dr. Joseph Murphy. Now, he talks about the power that a subconscious mind generates is enough to light up the city of Los Angeles for one night. Guys, you know how much of energy that is? You know how much of heat is generated? You know how much of water you need to cool that? The Atlantic Ocean to cool one subconscious mind, one mind. Now, we have all that tapped inside of us. What we need to know is how to unwire that and then hit the right buttons to get the spring working.
Amazing. That sounds really deep. And I must say, guys who are watching or listening to us, know this, that David is such an amazing and powerful coach himself. And now that you know that, there have been so many experiences in his life where he has been mentored by such amazing people, he uses all those tools to move ahead and coach people himself. And with the mission that he has, I'm sure, David, I'm sure that you would be able to achieve the mission that you are living for, the vision, the purpose that you're living for.
I thank you for that. I really want to make sure that I just not do it. I want to make sure at least I have a couple of thousand people who are wanting to have a similar mission. And I know they have, Most of them who I'm connected with are in sync with it. There's what I call synchronity between our minds.
Mm.
So one of my partners that I work and collaborators that I work with, is very close with me, and she points this out when I'm in talking from here and she's in UK, and maybe partner on our discussions. We were either thinking of the same thought sometime yesterday, the day before, and she said, how does this happen? I said, most people don't understand it. Let's just run with the flow. By the way, there's another book called The Flow. I'm recommending a lot of books. I hope you guys read. I mean, I tell you what, unless you read, you're not going to get anywhere in life. Bottom line, readers are leaders, they say. But I take it one step further.
Yeah. So the recommended book Flow is, who's the author for that?
I got it. I'm sorry, it slipped my mind. It'll come. When it comes, I'll let you know.
Sure. And guys, you should note that down. And I'm sure if you find it on, one of the websites, uh, and of course, David has his own book that he's come up with.
Yeah. Don't forget to buy that book. I don't have the buttons for you to click. You just go into Amazon, guys. It's in Amazon. The book is called IXL. IXL. Wired for Success.
Wow. So tell us more about the book. But before that, what do you mean by success? Would you like to talk about that as well?
Yeah. See, success is different to different people. Okay. Now, my bottom line to success is very simply put. Everybody in life wants something that is satisfying, that's giving them a buzz, so to speak. Okay, you can call it different terms. But to me, bottom line is, it's a trigger to build up your endorphins, your serotonin levels, your dopamine levels, all of those type of things. I call it the dose chemicals. All right. Now, to be happy is what success is all about, the bottom line. Now, why do I use that phrase happy or happiness? It doesn't matter if you've got $100 million and you're unhappy. It's not success. It doesn't matter if you have nothing and you're not happy. It's not success. How do you find this happiness? It comes inside of you. Now, I make it very easy for you. And because I'm such a big pusher of this, all you need to do is go into my website called davidnair.net. And in it, there are 4 points as an assessment on the main homepage. And you will see this there. The first point is be happy. Okay. The second point is fulfill your potential for that happiness. The third point is making the change, the transformations, which we talk about. And the last one is how you find the balance, the synchronity. All of that in a pyramid gives you happiness. All right? And happiness is a habit, ladies and gentlemen. It is a habit. It just doesn't happen like that. It's just like when your mom and dad taught you how to brush teeth when you're a little kid. Or your mom and dad, and I beg my, I love to shock people. So I will throw certain things in their phraseologies, not to hurt or not to be bad, but it's how I trigger your subconscious, by the way. Your mom and dad taught you how to wash your bum when you're a little tot. And that is basically what happiness is when you come to understanding it's a habit. When you got the right habit, that's when huge transformations take place. And the habit comes because you're utilizing patterns, tools, and methodologies that have been experienced. That's where the power of the coach comes in. He's not there to turn around and say, read chapter 6 of the book. No, he's there to turn around and say, okay, here's a problem. Now, how do I diagnose a problem? It's just like a doctor. He uses a stethoscope. He checks your eyes. He calibrates your eyes. I have calibrated Karuna's eyes this evening before she came on stage. When she was there on this channel, when she was there, I was thinking, okay, energy level, da-da-da-da. And I was already doing a template check on the lady. The same thing the doctor calibrates. Now, you need to learn to calibrate yourself. These 4 points that I mentioned just now are in my website. Go and do a self-assessment on a scale of 1 to 10. Calibrate it. See where you are.
Amazing.
That is what happiness is.
So would you just repeat that again? You said first is about happiness as a
Be
habit.
happy. Be
How?
happy.
Yeah, be happy. Yeah.
Now, and now that is not just a phrase, that is certain things you have to do to yourself on a regular basis. Now, if we do
Mm,
have time,
mm,
you can come online and we can do that here, but otherwise we need to wait for another time that we can share the details of how and what is required to be happy.
mm, mm,
Why is that important? As the Dalai Lama says, the purpose of our life is to be happy.
mm,
It's not David Nair saying that, it's the Dalai Lama saying that. The purpose of our life is to be happy. Now, there's a man of wisdom, guys. Now, if he's put that together that way, I, in my little wisdom, thought some years back when I'm doing my website, I need to make sure happiness is up there in the front. It follows with success, it follows with wiring it up, and then I can become a technician and nuts and bolts it all together and produce success for you.
amazing. So step number one is be happy. Step number
Yes,
two is
fulfill your potential.
fulfill your potential. Wow. And
Now, you
step
got
number
to do an
three.
assessment of your potential. This is where I say we just don't turn around and say, okay, I do a SWAT exercise, which is very commonly used by a lot of people. Nay, 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 nay. That's not what I'm talking about. Okay, so we fulfill our potential, analyze our potential, see what we need to put in there to get the potential up to its level. And I'm not asking for perfection here. I don't believe in perfection. I believe in excellence. That's why I am referred to as a peak performance excellence coach.
Mm,
The word excellence is vital.
yeah, makes sense. So how do we move to the third step? What would that be?
Very simple. Once you have determined where your fulfillment is in relation to your potential, you now got to make a decision to make the change. Do I need
Mm,
this? Prioritize it. Do I need this? Do I need this? Do I need this? Do I need this? How does that
mm,
fit with my vision? So the people that don't have vision are just aimlessly buying a car. Next month they'll buy another car. Next month they'll buy another car.
yeah.
Whereas if you have a purpose, I tell you something. Not this trip in January when I went to India and I got stranded there for 9 months, but last year, one of my trips, yeah, after my daughter's birthday on the 28th or something like that in April, I flew back, and it, Shani is about 26, 27, and she looked at me and she said, Dad, why do you have to go? You got all the things here in life. Why do you have to go? And I was so tempted to stay back, honestly. But if I didn't have the purpose, I would stay back. My
Mm,
purpose is my driving force.
yeah.
My purpose is what made me stay there for 9 months. I missed my flight out of Chennai by 2 days. Because I missed it by 2 days, I stranded there for 9 months with a pandemic. Did I complain? No, I found means on which I could turn around and shift the whole gear. Started online programs and da 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 da. My collaborator in India and I were doing live sessions in Hyderabad when we flew back because they were saying, you better get back home. And I flew back into Chennai, she flew back into Bangalore. And in the process of doing that, guess what happened? Airport got closed. So I continued doing it. I didn't suck my thumb because Jerry told me you can either suck your thumb or you deep dive in the swimming pool.
Interesting.
I
Interesting.
hope I hope I'm making sense. I'm just talking, guys.
What's the step number four, David?
Very simple. Focusing and finding your purpose and pattern in life.
That sounds powerful.
Yep.
It really sounds powerful.
Now, those 4 steps put together, it gives you the best biryani you can have. It's better than the Hyderabadian biryani. I can tell you that.
Makes a lot of sense. So this is what success is all about, guys, when
Yes.
from the perspective of David, and it makes a lot of sense. It comes from the deep insights of not just when you hear several gurus or teachers, but also from regular day to day life that a normal person is living. It is, at the end of the day, success is all about being happy, finding your happiness, fulfilling your potential, and living a life which you would, would love to, have. That's where you feeling you have the freedom to be able to make the choices that you want to have.
Let me just illustrate that, expand a little bit on that so you get a feel. How many of you follow the politics that is currently in America? How
Some
many
of
have
us,
been following? Sorry?
some of us are, yes.
Right. And you know what's happened today with our president Trump, right? He's been impeached, right?
Mm.
Twice. Now, he's got all the wealth. I'm not putting Trump down. He's got all the wealth. He's got everything that is going for him. But is a man really happy? Is he fulfilling a purpose in life?
Yeah, so to say, he's the most powerful guy.
Exactly. Now, I take the same situation, same scenario, and I've just finished Nelson Mandela's autobiography. And I look at how a man for 20 years was in a prison. He comes out and he liberates a nation. And when he died, in fact, I got a photo. I wish I could have put up that photo in Joburg, where he's got the statue of him. You know, the people have put a statue of him some 100 meters up in the air. And sorry, 100 meters up in the air. And this guy turned around and he was out there helping people. He was out there digging the trenches with those that are suffering. Now, did he get happiness? My oath, he did. Obviously. Otherwise, the people's love will not be shown in a little statue like that.
Yes.
And the statue is not a significant thing to point out to, but the significant thing to point out to is what he had left behind is a legacy for hundreds of people to follow. He was the person that broke that apartheid movement of the blacks.
Mm.
We know it because we here in Australia were playing rugby union with the Springboks. They were only all white players until our friend came in and broke that. Why should there be a disparity in race and color? Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
That's what
Maybe.
humanity is all about. Guys, now
Mm.
that is success, man. I don't know if it makes sense to you.
Yeah, it's not about being popular. It's
No.
being creating that value which creates so much of fulfillment, not just within you, but so much of beautiful benefits to people around you as well.
Mm. And see, this is the key element we should look at. And I'm sorry to say, and this is, I'm apologizing today, but on Saturday I'm talking to parents and about 400 students, okay, on the same topic. Oh no, I'm talking on the three E's, but a similar topic. And the irony of it is, the education system doesn't provide this. Okay. And what we need to do is we need people, icons like you, man, out there, icons like you to turn around and say, we got to do something. We
Yeah.
got to create change.
Yes.
And I saw a movie way back and it says, I'm sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired. Are you sick and tired of being sick and tired of being sick and tired? 2020 was a rotten year. Let's look at 2021 being a poof,
Yes.
tsunami year for you.
And I think it started with an amazing bang for both of us, at least, with such
Yeah,
amazing reviews I'm getting for Conversations with Karuna, and you having launched your book
I
in January.
know. Thank you.
So,
Sorry to interrupt, but this is another thing. As a coach, I failed. I had
mm,
written the book and completed the book in 2019. Would you believe it? December. But
mm,
other priorities. See, this is why it's important when your purpose is not defined. Other priorities came in place, which is valid because I wanted to go into UAE and start helping people there, which I did for about 3 or 4 months. I want to go to South Africa and do the same thing over there, which I did. And then I came back into Australia and did some work here, and then did some work in Spain with John Grinder and those people over there, and my tribe over there, I should say. And then when it came to this, The book was still sitting on the shelf. So I dusted it last October, November, and I said, January 1, I'm going to launch it, my birthday. So I launched it.
Wow. Belated birthday wishes.
I know. Thank you. Thank you.
An amazing milestone received, achieved. So tell
Yeah.
us more about the book. We did define what is success all about, and that concept is not just your own concept, but universally accepted from a point that all of us as human beings want to feel fulfilled,
Mm.
and that fulfillment is what we all want to get from whatever actions that we are doing.
Right.
Um, and uh, so when we want to wire ourselves for success, what are some things that you talk about in the book?
Okay. Some key elements that I would like people to anchor themselves on is we spoke about your mainstream education. Okay. And then we spoke about exposure.
Mm.
All right. And I touched on the term called coaching. But the third and most vital area, in my view, and all of this is in the book, by the way, everything I'm talking is in the book. All right. So you're getting a pre-launch of the book. By the way, I think my marketing team are putting out a landing page with a lot of this information for you on an e. So click on it. It's free. It's an e chapter. Why I wrote the book. After 22 years working and coaching with people, I found there was a need to write that book. So it's a condensed version of the need for why such a book is being put out now.
Mm. Mm.
Okay, with all these tools and patterns. Now, the third form that of education that is vital, in my opinion, not important, but vital, there's a difference, is experience.
Mm.
Whose experience? The experience of someone who has walked through the trenches. That's where a guide, a guru, a coach, and a mentor comes into play. Ladies and gentlemen, the three E's for foundation of a person's education. Most of us are hanging on one E. And let me ask you this particular information. Have you seen a table sitting with one leg? Is it stable? But have you seen a table sitting on two legs? At least a table with three legs is a tripod, and that's reasonably stable. And that's why the three E's are so vital. Education cannot let go of it. You need your mainstream education to give you the 3 R's, I call it, the basics. That's all it is. And most people hang on their coattails on that education. So when they come out with a degree, they go for a second degree, a third degree, an MBA, a PhD. I beg my forgiveness, when I use this term PhD, person heading for disaster.
Very
So,
interesting.
ladies and gentlemen, take stock. And I hope I'm not putting people down by, I'm being critical, but at the same time constructive. There are some good PhD people out there, very good, but I'm yet to see a really happy, wealthy PhD person. Seriously.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. So
Now,
the
when I come down from that experience that I'm talking about, I'm a very transparent bullseye person, okay? So that experience I'm talking about is not the experience of somebody who pontificates after he or she has read a book. No, it is somebody who's done the walk, then doing the talk. Not somebody who's read 10 chapters and comes and does a lecture on it. No.
Mm.
So that's why I say to people, there are many coaches out there. Be very mindful of how you select your coaches,
Mm.
just like you go for an interview. So the key element now is the three E's: education, vital; exposure, vital; experience, vital. When you have the three E's, you are not cooking with gas, ladies and gentlemen. You're really cooking with gas, and you can fire up to get your step 2, fulfilling your purpose, your
Mm.
potential, and to get your step 3, to make the change.
Mm.
You see, I tell you something. There's out there on YouTube so much of information. Most people will go and see that and come and do a little bit of it. But how many of you actually go and practiced it? How many of you have gone and smelt the gunpowder
Yeah.
of whatever you want to
Very,
get to doing?
very few.
That's the power of what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So that's in the book. What else is in the book? Productive habits.
Mm.
We were taught to brush our teeth. We're taught to do all the usual things. But let me ask you one simple question. How many of you spend time with yourself today? And how much of time do you spend with yourself today? So we have what I call a ritual pattern that I put in the book. Morning rituals and
Mm.
night rituals. Just like you have 3 meals a day, that's to feed this belly so it can go sideways. But we need 3 meals a day, minimum two, to do this. And I'm a
Yeah.
firm believer of rituals. I've been pushing the rituals, and I've had people who are in the pits of unhappiness, people who are in the pits of depression, people who are in the pits of don't know what to do. Once they start practicing these rituals, some tube light begins to open in them.
Mm. And I must personally say that, there are certain discipline, disciplines that our parents taught at a certain time. When we are in a certain age, especially I'm talking from a personal experience here, I used to question those disciplines.
Hmm.
And now that I'm a mom of a young child, and there are a lot of life changes I've gone through, I myself look at creating those rituals for my child. And now that I do that, I realize the benefits of what I was taught. Even
Right.
though, for certain years of my life, I decided not to follow it. I chose to do things on my own. But, life comes in a circle. And um, I realized personally the benefits of following certain rituals in my own life, doing something at a certain time regularly on a daily basis, which helped me not just in my personal life, but also made me much more productive in my professional life.
Exactly. Exactly. You see, the term rituals could be coined differently by many people. It is not religious rituals, please. It is rituals that I call habit pattern shifts that we need to do to ourselves. And
Mm,
each time you reorientate, realign your thinking, when you realign your thinking based on a purpose or an intention, by the way, how many of you have read the book called The Power of Intentions by Wayne Dwyer? That's a good start for 2021,
mm,
guys. Power of
mm,
Intentions. So when you have that in your head
mm,
and you got the right intentions, you got the right purpose, and you've got
mm,
the right rituals and everything is going, you know something? You are now in synchronity with the
yes,
universe and you are in sync with your body, your soul, and your mind. And magic happens, and everybody says, He's lucky. He's lucky. Labor under correct knowledge. That's why he's lucky.
yes. Yeah, I got to know something new about luck today. That was my learning from this entire
Right.
discussion. One of the learnings, rather, from this entire discussion. So, guys, do go ahead and write more questions and comments, and we would be happy to address them. So, here is a question Mohib has. What steps are needed? Hang on, it's just like the whole of it I can't read right now. Yeah.
All right. How do I pronounce your name? Mohib?
Mohib, yes.
Mohib.
Yes.
Okay, Mohib, I'm going to very quickly, I'm not going to answer your question, but I'm going to very quickly throw out a few points for you to take notes. You got a paper and pencil? Quickly,
Hmm.
write on the chat channel. Do you have a paper and pencil? All those people that are there today, do you have a paper and pencil? I'm telling you something. There is 25 years of street experience has been shared with you today.
Hmm.
Now, if I was sitting in a notepad, I give you an example. I mean, that was my note taking this afternoon when I was talking to one of my trainees. 6 pages of that. And this is my note taking on my conversations everywhere I go. That's why stupid people get paid so well. Now, you've got to be a student of life. If you learn anything from today, carry a notebook with you wherever you go. So, to this guy who asked this question, my simple point to you is, what's your purpose? Answer that in the chat, please, very quickly. What's your purpose? Asking a question like, do I get a promotion, is not the not giving you a solution. I need to know, what's your purpose? Where are you going in life? Are you in the job that's giving you the right synchronity to your purpose? Because you might be working, paddling on a bicycle that is going to the North Pole when actually you want to go to the South Pole. So you're not getting a promotion. You might think you're doing a good job, but your boss is not seeing the passion that you're putting to the job. It's not the job, it's the passion. But if you cycle to the South Pole and you are in sync, it'll show in your face. That's the first thing. The second thing, how have you done an alignment of your job description to your purpose? Another thing, in that alignment, what's the gap analysis there? I'm not going to give you the answers to this. The next thing, in addition to your gap analysis, where do you come out to say, I have done the following things so well? How do you measure it? Your measurement is different to the measurement that is asked by the boss or the company. Are you in line with your KPIs? Now, the KPIs the company sets might not be in line with what you want to go to the South Pole. Am I making sense? So when you say what steps are needed, I've just given you something like 10 steps. Now, this is why most people, and I'll tell you why, 50 of the top companies hire us to go to them and talk to the middle managers, vice presidents, how they can step up in this ladder of promotions. They've been barking up the wrong tree. You take a fish out of water and you ask it to climb the tree, it can't climb the tree. You take the monkey out of the tree and put it in the water, it doesn't know how to probably swim. So we need to make sure your alignment is right. We need to make sure your job description is right. We need to make sure there is synchronity there. We then need to make sure, what are you doing? How passionate are you with your work? Hey guys, this is not about, okay, I did this, so I should be given a promotion. Nay. You know what this is about? It is like cooking a Black Forest cake. How many of you love Black Forest cake? Come on, put in the I don't see the chat channel. Can you type in there? I love a Black Forest cake. Come on, I want to see some chats. How many of you like a Black Forest cake? Yes? Can you see some chat coming through?
No, not yet. But I'm sure a lot of us do like. Personally, I do like Black Forest.
Okay, you see, the point is very simple. To get a Black Forest cake, if you think about it, it is just a plain dump old chocolate cake. You know what they did to it? They put some chocolate icing in between. They iced it very well. And then they put a couple of strawberries and some plums on it. And if they were from Australia, they put Australian strawberries, the bigger ones. And it tastes better. And that's the Black Forest cake. So it's a plain old chocolate cake. Now, my point to you is, are you wanting to be the outcome of a Black Forest cake, or are you wanting the outcome of a chocolate cake?
Yeah.
Your passion to it will be different. The way in which you manufacture it will be different. It is like your grandmother baking a cake in her kitchen. Now, what you guys need to understand, it is not the ingredients. It matters to a certain amount. But the key ultimate, how many of you have heard, you know, my mom's cooking is so much better than what I eat out here?
Yes.
Exactly. No. That's the thing we need in your job.
Yeah.
You understand? And that is what gets you the promotions up. Hey guys, I told you, at the age of 19, I started working with this company at the age of 24 and a half, 25. I was the youngest vice president for the company with a territory from Shanghai to Tasmania. I didn't just get it by magic. And I didn't tell you that for a show off. I am telling you that 5 years was passion work, man. I was
It,
working my butt out at 2 a.m., 3 a.m. But there was one session where we had to submit a table, a document for the parliament to endorse. We were in mining industry, for the parliament to endorse what we call infrastructure work. All right. Now we worked 5 days non-stop, day and night. Food was brought in. We had shower. Our clothes were brought in. We had shower in the office. 5 days. At the end of it, because we had a deadline to meet to table it to the parliament, the Queensland Parliament, and we did it. Now, at the end of it, we got what we wanted, the outcome. But I tell you what, the taste is not just the outcome now. Man, I cracked that butt, yeah. I got it. And that's what you should look at when you talk about promotions.
yeah.
Mohit, I hope this answered your question.
I'm sure it did, and I'm sure it gave him a lot of inspiration to take things ahead in his life and career and use the steps that you talked to him about.
Thank you.
They're very powerful steps. So now while we're coming towards, even though I would love to continue talking, we're coming towards the end of the conversations. Um,
Please.
and I would want you to tell people how can they reach out to you, how can they order your book, and any closing comments that you might have. And
Okay.
before that, let me tell you, people are just pouring in some amazing comments for you. Akshay says it's amazing. Jitendra says really appreciate it. Sham Kishore also feels it's an excellent conversation. Murali says fantastic, and a lot of
Thank
us
you.
are there appreciating about
Thank
what
you.
you're talking to
Really.
us.
Thank you. You're giving that acknowledgement, yes, to me, yes, but it is not mine. It is my coaches. I am just a messenger boy, and I pass it back to those gentlemen and ladies who coached me the last 22 to 25 years to get to where I am. It's vital, guys, to understand success just doesn't come overnight. You have to build on it, and when you
Mm.
build on it, you will then understand. You build on a solid foundation. And the book that I've written is a bottom up book. By the way, I've already finished my second book. It's going to be launched in April, and that book is called Your Why. So I've got these productive things coming in for why your success, and then we talk about your why, your purpose in life. When the two put together, your right and your left arm, man, you're going to fire like you've never seen any success there. So guys, the book is available on Amazon.com. Globally, it is on Amazon.com. In India, it's on Amazon.in, I think, and it's on Flipkart. It's on all the channels that is there. It's everywhere. That's the first thing. The second thing is look out for what my Facebook ad is team are doing. Why do I say look out for that? It's not to sell you anything. It is for you to want to reach out to me. I will be giving 20, I think 15 to 20-minute sessions for selected people who get into that platform, landing page, put their details, and at the same time request for a time where I will spend personal time on just doing an assessment with you, like what our friend just asked in the question there, and giving
Mm.
you a rough wheel of life so you can actually walk away with something after 20 minutes.
Hmm.
All right. Now, so look out for that. I'm in all channels, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, LinkedIn, all of those places. So you can look out for them. So look out for that under David Nye. Just go and type David Nye in Google. By the way, that's called Google. Type it in there, and then you'll see what pops up. That's where you can reach me. In relation to trying to connect with me for the book, I would just suggest you just dial into Amazon and get it from there directly. For those that come through the landing page, they will be getting an extra 33% discount or whatever. This is all the marketing team. I'm just ad-libbing. I hope I'm giving you the right figures, but it's all there, guys. Okay, I'm not
Cool.
heavy into that. I'm not selling the book for the sake of selling. I want to reach out. I want to get 1 million people, to transform. And I want about 20 or 30 of you guys that are listening to it to actually be part of a team that can go out and make shake and move the world, man. We need people out there. We need people who got guts to do that thing. We just can't sit back. I tell you another story. I mean, I'm so sorry. This happened to me when I was in Glasgow, doing a talk in Glasgow in 2010, 11. Um, I was in Edinburgh, and they said, David, they loved my appreciation of museums. Wherever I go, I love to go to museums. So they said there's a fantastic exhibition in Glasgow Museum. You got to go and see it, Dave. So they drove me down from Edinburgh to Glasgow. It's about 3 hour, 4 hour drive. I got in there. I got to this museum, and guys, this is what I saw. My God, it's a long, 150-meter long, very narrow. The main museum was there, but this is an attachment to it. And in this, as you walked in, it was a pitch dark, long tunnel. And I looked up at the wall, and it said, "You are here." I thought, wow, red light, and I couldn't see anything else. Black, total black. Way down, 150 meters down, was a speck of white light. And flashing from that every few minutes was the birth of Earth. That was when 65 billion years ago, when Earth was first formed, or the galaxy was first formed. Okay? And then a question comes out here in front of you in little laptops, and it says, think about it. You have the 60 billion years. And if you're lucky in this spec, you will live for 100 years. Guys, 100 years, if you're lucky. And that 100 years in relative terms to the 60 billion years is just a microcosm drop in that ocean. Now, in that 100 years, how much of problems are we taking in? How much of challenges are we taking in? How much of fights with our wives and our husbands and our brother-in-laws and mother-in-laws and grandmothers and are we taking in? Is it worth it for that 100 speck? Let go. Let go. And what you need to do and what I need to do, that was a revelation for me. I took stock of my life and I said, man, I got to share this story. That came to me. I got to share this story. You have a purpose in this life. And this life, there is a journey you're taking. And leave behind a mark of significance that others can follow. And that's when my purpose began to crystallize. And that's why I took this mission of making sure I could come into India, into the world, and transform 1 million. Not many, I just wanted to do 1 million. And even that I failed. I only achieved 250,000. But I've got two coaches who are really driving me. By 2025, we will lock up 10 million.
Amazing. More power to you, David.
Thank
I
you.
love the energy
Thank
and the stories that you always bring in because they leave a lot of mark. And I remember a lot of your stories whenever I have some decisions that I wish to make. So,
Right.
through this channel, through these conversations that you're doing, I'm sure a lot of us are getting impacted. And thank you so much for all the time you've been able to give us today. And more
Appreciate it.
power to you for your book. I appreciate whatever things that you've talked about, and especially to the audience as well. Comments are just pouring in with so much of love for you.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Hey, I'm throwing back the love to you. Please share that with your family. Uh, please, if you're carrying some hurt, some grudge with somebody, do reach out and say, I'm sorry. And be the stronger one of the two to do that. And then from there, you see a transformation take place. God bless
Thank
you,
you.
man. God bless you.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, David.
Thank you.
And we'll be back again next week, next Thursday. with much more interesting, many more interesting sessions. Thank you. Thank you so much.
My
Bye bye
pleasure.
for now.
Ciao from down under, Brisbane, Australia. Take care, people. Bye.